Hey guys, thanks for watching. So guess what year it is? It's an American government year. And as many of you know, I have been traveling a ton all over your territories and on the phone talking with American government instructors, and they all want to talk about one thing. You got it. AmGov. This amazing little book is landing on desks right now, and everybody is intrigued. Everybody wants to talk about it. People are letting me into their offices because they want to sit down. They have questions about this book because they've never seen anything like this before in American government, right? So up until now, I feel like we've spent a lot of time talking about the price point, right? That $60 price point, which is really appealing. And also the format, right? So it's really brief, the brevity of it, and the unique spiral binding tabs, right? And I think instructors really love that, and it gets them to open the book. All right, but that's just really the first step. Now it's time for all of us to take that conversation to the next level, right? So I just want to take a couple minutes today to talk with you about how to use the book, right? The actual book as a tool, as a visual tool to answer some of those key questions and perhaps overcome some of the objections that you may be hearing. So, and the two objections that I really want to address today is, first of all, coverage, right? So when a book is this brief, one of the first questions that comes to mind for instructors is, what have you taken out? What's missing? Are there crucial topics that I have in my full book or my essentials book that I'm not going to find in this brief little book, right? So it's the coverage. And the next thing is a little bit harder to define, and it's not something that instructors will often just come right out and say, but it's this idea that when you see a book that is bright and colorful and it's got these cool tabs and it uses this kind of conversational like language and hashtags, is it serious enough for their classes, right? So that idea that the book maybe is a little bit too light, not just on content, but are my students going to take it seriously? Are they really going to learn from this book the way that I need them to learn in order to get the grades and get the good student reviews, right? So it's that idea of kind of the functionality and the level of the book. Is it enough? All right. So let's take a few minutes. When you uncover those objections, here's how I want you to talk about it. Here's how I want you to show it. So if and when instructors start expressing concern over the brevity of the book and the fact that, or the possibility that maybe not all of the crucial topics that they want to teach are actually covered in this book, it's important to let them know that everything is in here. Just because it's brief and these topics are covered in a brief way doesn't mean that they're not there. Christine actually benchmarked this book. This is the table of contents that I'm showing you, which is just really nicely organized to show everything that's in here. Christine actually benchmarked this book against the full version of KTR to ensure that everything is in here. It's just covered in a brief way. And the other thing that is really important to get across to people is that Christine, you know, even though it's a brief book, it's a very smart book. We call it smart brevity, right? She was very intentional in the way that she organized it. And remind people that this is an incredibly experienced textbook author that we're talking about here. Christine has written several books, so she's really gone through this process many times throughout all of her revisions. And really what I want to point out to you today, which is important to work into the conversation about this book, is that when she wrote this book, what she was thinking about is writing this book in a way that really helped her students in her classroom zero in on what the main points are, right? So there's no confusion about what it is that they're supposed to walk away from. And the way that she does this is by setting the book up like a conversation. So if you were to sit and read this book aloud, it would sound like a conversation, right? And the way that she does that is if you look in the margins here, right? These little marginal call outs are essentially questions, right? So how do rights confer power on people? And this little arrow points to the answer to that question. It's right here with the key terms there at the bottom. And it continues. Where do our rights come from? Excellent question. Read this little 2 paragraphs and you're going to find out. Are Americans' constitutional rights unlimited? Another great question. Let's read and find out. Read this little blurb and you'll get the answer to it, right? And these blurbs are just little digestible chunks that are not intimidating to students. And again, this format, this question and answer format, this conversational tone really allows them to very easily pull out exactly what it is that they need to know in a reasonable amount of time. And it's this smart brevity, which is really at the heart of this book, okay? So this is a smart book. It's a brief book, but it has everything in it that these instructors want to cover in a very smart and organized way.